Hello and good morning, everyone. Welcome to this week's outstanding episode of Breakfast with Boom. I am your host, Mr. Boomstick XL, and we have a lot to discuss. We are still awaiting one panel member. Sorry for the late start, but obviously we want to make sure that everyone is here so we can do the introductions properly. So, of course, we're going to start with Mr. Badbit. Hey, dude, first of all, thank you so much. You have been a part of not one, not two, but three podcasts this week. So you've been busy on top of what you already do. Thanks so much for taking the time to be here.
Man, I'm happy to be here. I have a bit of a migraine, but you know what is helping? Like, not even sarcastically. I got what is this? Who's this guy? An Overwatch mug.
Nice.
Winston, there you go. I got a Winston mug full of coffee. So the caffeine should be affecting it soon. With that, listen, a lot of people want me to bring back the Red Dead voice.
You were very popular. I got a lot of messages with that. So how are you feeling, Mr. Cowboy?
Well, by God, I'm feeling the best I've ever been. And let me tell you something. Red Dead Redemption Red Dead Redemption 2, by God, might be about 2 years old. But let me tell you something. It is a game of the generation, no doubt. May 7th can't come fast enough. Let me tell you that. By God.
Well, listen, first of all, it's great to have you here, partner. So I'm tipping my cap to you virtually. And
likewise, sir. Likewise.
And of course, I want to bring in someone that has, he has a raspy voice, but a big heart and a chainsaw in his back pocket. You know him as the Retro Renegades professional known as Crispy Bomb. Welcome to the show, dude.
Great to be back, Boom. It's been a while. I kind of was like, I need my breakfast with Boom. Let's make sure I get a Friday off here, with all the craziness going on, And yes, I have been chainsawing many faces. I'm just saying, it's the best way to it's the best way to relieve some stress after a long day at work, in my opinion.
Well, it's definitely great to have you back on the show. Thank you for taking the time. And last and no way least, you know him as not only a podcast professional, veteran of the industry good guy, community outreach, I guess, spokesperson, if you will, and our resident GameStop know-it-all. Please welcome Gaming Forte.
Man, mornings aren't the same without Breakfast with Boom, man. So let's get into it, man. This is going to be a pretty good show, as always.
Well, I definitely appreciate you taking the time. I know you're going to have to leave halfway through because, of course, he is actually working, folks. So we want to wish him safety, wellness, and, of course, his opinion for at least an hour and change is going to be very interesting and warranted. Real quick before we move forward, I have to thank a new channel member that was in before the show even started, Barmy Salami. Hey, dude, thank you so much for becoming a channel member at 7:53 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, OPS, by the way. And we also have to catch up on a couple of super chats that came in. Masshole 1977, who obviously is here almost all the time before anyone. He drops a $2 super chat and says, just heads up, the super chat is working. Thank God it's Friday. Well, thank you so much for that, dude. Super appreciate it. And another one came in, and that is from, let's see, where are you? It is from Xbox Taff. And he says this. First of all, he drops an outstanding and very generous $10 super chat. And he says, Boom, you were awesome. Well, thanks, dude. That is awesome of you to say. He said, discovered your show a few months ago, and I've been addicted ever since. I'm a corrections officer. Well, hello there, sir, brother in blue, or for you guys, gray. And your shows help me unwind after a shift. Thanks, brother. Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for your continued service during these very difficult times. And, of course, thank you for your generosity. So let's keep going. Oh, and Smitty Smith. Now, you know him. He brings us to church every time he's here and says this. Just wanted to say thank you and shout out Mrs. Boomstick for the work that she does. Thank you so much, dude. That's really kind of you. I want to finish off with the Book of X, because obviously he messaged Mrs. Boomstick on one of King's videos, I believe it was yesterday. If you didn't check it out, the King from the Iron Lords podcast, you know, he has his statue show, and he, which of course is called the King of Statues, and he displayed a classic thing from the Fantastic Four, which looked amazing. So you know what? I want to start off with something a little fun. I got a lot of good feedback the other day when we started off the show with what are you playing? And, you know, for me right now, it has been for the last week or so, that Final Fantasy VII life. But I want to bring up a picture of something that just caught my eye, just released today. And, oh, P.S., by the way, launched into Game Pass. It's called Deliver Us the Moon. And I got to be honest with you, folks, this game looks like it's going to be Boom's next thing. I watched the trailer, which was released today. And it looks amazing. And I'm going to bring up some screenshots. This is it seems as if it's third person by the screenshots, as you can see. This looks this looks pretty good. I am very excited because it has a very alien vibe. You know, you're out there by yourself. There is it gives me that Mass Effect feel. Here's another screenshot where you're in the moon buggy. So I immediately, you know, equated that to Mass Effect. And here is the synopsis for it. It is basically this. Deliver Us the Moon is a sci-fi thriller set in an apocalyptic near future. A lone astronaut is sent to the moon on a critical mission to save humanity from extinction. Deliver Us the Moon is a sci-fi thriller set in the apocalyptic near future where Earth's natural resources are now depleted. So I'm going to say this. I don't know what everyone else is playing because I'm always interested to hear what the community is playing, but I'm interested to hear what you guys are playing. And we'll start with Mr. Badbit. Mr. Badbit, what have you sunk your teeth into and that you want to talk about?
It's only been 24 hours since we last talked, Boom, but I've played many a game. So, you know, listen, it's the end of the world. I try to find the Lysol disinfectants, the cure. And in the meantime, I have been playing Halo Wars, of course. And Luke, Laura, and I have been tearing it up. And when I mean Luke, Laura, and I mean just Luke and our friend Kev, because I'm really bad in that game. They carry me so bad. But like we've gotten to a part where Legendary isn't hard anymore. Like we understand where the AI is what they're gonna do and how they're gonna react. So you know, we're also coming to the point where we're trying online, but to me, it's not balanced at all. So like there's like a lot of cheap strategies people are using to win. So that's a little disappointing.
I hate cheesing.
I know, dude. There's a lot of what the kids like to call Zerg rushing in that game. I'm not a fan.
Zerg rushing. I remember those days.
Oh God, yeah. That's one of the main reasons.
Those youngins.
Yeah, like it's one of the main reasons I don't like StarCraft either. So like, you know, that's a little disheartening, but we are thinking about, you know, Halo Infinite's coming November. We're like, why haven't we just put on the Master Chief Collection and just start going through the entire campaign? Just rolling in.
That's actually a fantastic idea. Why the hell not? That's even I like it.
Yeah, so I installed the Master Chief Collection today. And so I look forward to playing that. And then the other game that I was very bullish about, I'm like, it's coming, it's happening. I no sleep till I beat this game tonight, and I fell asleep. That is Final Fantasy VII. I was on chapter 14, which I've been saying not a good chapter. Don't like it one bit.
Okay,
but from what I was talking to my co-host Kyle of the Trophy Room, he says after 14, it is just epic boss fight after epic boss fight. Ooh, and so I'm like, okay, this is and like during my tenure, like it was like 3 hours of me playing, dude, I fought like 3 or 4 bosses. And the one thing that I really do love about Final Fantasy VII is that like all these bosses, again, like this is me first time ever playing Final Fantasy VII, so this is like the definitive story to me,
right? Yes.
I I've never been a big Final Fantasy person, but like these bosses are challenging in a way that I'm really digging because you
Oh,
guys know.
there's definitely a use of the potions and
Yeah.
ether and dropping some grenades every now and again and rolling out the way.
Lighting stuff on fire. Like the boss fights are so they're so challenging, and the combat is something else, because it does feel like it has kept some of the like turn-based stuff in it.
Yeah.
When you're going into the systems and you're getting your spells out.
If you're not using actions and switching between characters, you ain't doing it right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm not doing it right. And so it turns out like the bosses are super challenging, but they're also super rewarding. And as like a Soulsborne guy, I love that about this game. I'm always waiting for the next boss fight, or I'm waiting for the next cutscene, because the story and the characters are gripping me, and the boss fights are gripping me. Not so much the environments, because I think they're very ugly. But other than that, like, this game's really great. I don't know now.
Yeah, I mean, listen, dude, it's right now. It has boxed out Resident 3 as my game of the year. I can't say that's the definitive answer. We're not even halfway done with 2020, but right now I just got to chapter 10. I think I put about maybe 25 or 30 hours into it. Like, I'm looking at every nook and cranny. That's how I play these games, and that's why I'm so many hours into it, and not as far as some others, because I'm actually enjoying it. But now I got to be honest with you. After 10 chapters, I kind of just want to take a step back for a second, and I want to play something else.
Yes.
And then I want to revisit it with the anticipated excitement of the remainder 8 chapters.
Yeah, same. That's where I'm at now. So like after the show, who knows? I might just
I might have talked you off of Halo Wars back into Final Fantasy.
Exactly, man. Exactly. But that's what I've been playing.
Well, it's excellent. Great breakdown. Crispy Bomb, we haven't talked in a while, and I know that you just recently put something on Twitter about not being afraid and running and just chainsawing and shotgunning the shit out of everyone in Gears. What else have you been playing?
Well, it's been so long that I've gotten a good quarter of the way into Doom, which has been fun. This is where I have a problem. Boom. I start a game, I get into it, and then either I get a party invite into Gears, or the girlfriend comes over and wants to play Mortal Kombat, or what I'm saying is this quick resume feature is going to be really important for me,
dude,
to be honest.
Wait for that.
Because I literally I like to go enjoy the game when I feel like it. I don't feel like I have to prove anything and go and push through a game just to say I beat it. I mean, and shame on me sometimes, because then I end up not finishing the game. But it's a thing that I do because I feel like, especially single player, I like talking to people. You know what I mean? And sitting there and playing the single player game, I kind of either lose focus on the game if you're in a party with like people playing, Gears or whatever, or you just you're sitting there and it just doesn't, you want to get into the story instead. And sometimes it just takes you go, I just want to go play Gears now. So, that's probably my issue with single player games, is that I end up in a party. I end up wanting to talk to people, and then I lose focus on the game. But I mean, I love Game Pass. Like I could go and just have, Outer Worlds up and just go through all of these games. And one thing you were saying about cheesing, last night I was playing Mortal Kombat, and I swear to God, I went up against 5 people playing as Aaron Black, and all he did was drop kick me the whole time.
Yeah,
that was pissing me off, man. So, there's people out there that just don't want to learn moves, or at least try to learn moves. Like me, I could do that too, but I would just be like, why am I playing the game?
Fun? Yeah, it's not even fun at that point.
But Gears has been, most of the time. Operation 3 is if you're kind of like, I gave him chance after chance. This is where you give them the chance. If you haven't been back in the game, they definitely have done a lot of great things with it. Gridiron's actually really fun. It's not too too much more challenging into the realm of like King of the Hill or something. It's more of like, you know, kind of a casual. They also have it in 2 different playlists, so you can really have some fun with that. It's like playing football with gear style, so it's pretty cool. And you know, they changed a lot of the mechanics and stuff. So I mean, if the game's been, you know, you haven't been in the game in a while, I'd definitely go back and check it out. They're allowing you to earn stuff now, like much easier than it was, and I appreciate that because I've been saying that since the game came out. So, but yeah, it's been just, you know, gaming up a storm when I can.
Nice. Well, listen, let's get Gaming Forte in, but before I do, let me just catch up on some of these super chats. We have Metal Fickle, who says, "Love Boom, Scumlords here." Well, I say welcome and thank you for the very, very nice sentiment, and thank you for your generosity. Super appreciate that. We got Smitty Smith. Obviously, we know who he is. He, like I said, he brings us to church each and every day. He is in the chat. He says, just like Ali in his prime, Xbox is going to shake up the world. The Book of X. As a matter of fact, I actually sent a Muhammad Ali gif. Who the hell was it? I think it was the King, where he was fighting Spinks and he was doing that little dance in the corner that he did. I love it. And then, of course, PS5 PS5 will ship bags of ice. He drops an outstanding and very generous $10 super chat. That's funny. I hate laughing on the air like that, but that is just hilarious. He says, "What's good, Boom and panel? Just wanted to know if the panel will wait for the Series X version of Cyberpunk before purchasing it. I want to see that game in all its glory." You know, there are a lot of people that are kind of walking this razor's edge, if you will, on what to do with Cyberpunk. Do we wait the 2 months? Can you wait the 2 months is really the question. You know what? I like that. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take what you asked and I'm going to bring that forward to Primetime Gaming this Monday evening. And I'm going to write an original topic based on this. Of course, I will be giving you a shout out just because that name is ridiculous and funny. This week, we are not only going to have Wilmy Hood, we are going to have the world famous Tim Dog joining us live on Primetime Gaming. And of course, Gaming Forte will be there in all his glory. So Gaming Forte, you are obviously back to work, and you know, obviously being in the store by yourself, you might bring a Switch. I don't know. What have you been playing lately, dude?
Final Fantasy.
And so it's basically the FF life for you.
Final Fantasy. That's Final Fantasy. Can't even say it enough. Final Fantasy. What's the rest of the letters and numbers is in this thing? Look, man. I tweeted yesterday. Arif is Bay.
I saw that, dude. I responded to that as a matter of fact.
Because I've been playing it. I've been slow playing it. I just hit chapter 11, and look, man, the moment I saw Arif again and I fell through that window, that church tower, that music started playing, and instantly I went back to 1997.
It was epic.
I went back to 1997, and I was like, now I officially realize why I love this woman so much in this game, because it's kind of my personality. Just gee shucks, oh Willie. Not really caring about anything else in the world, always willing to help people, stuff like that. And it just related the most to me of all those characters. So, and it's kind of funny when you go back to revisit a game that you have not played in a very, very long time. And then all that stuff just starts coming back to you. Like, when it happened, I was like, oh, I knew it was going to happen, but I didn't expect it to have that kind of impact on me again, because that's basically where Final Fantasy VII like separated itself from me for a lot of games, because the emotional investment I had in the game. And that's just even truer now. So, man, that's what I've been playing. I have been playing other stuff, but because I can't play that game consistently all the way through, because it's like then you'll just get this emotional roller coaster as you're playing through it.
Yes.
So
I've been in the fields almost the whole game. Seriously.
Right. Exactly. So, and I don't want to be in the fields the whole game, because then you get really emotional, because then you start remembering every little thing, and then you start thinking about the things to come, which put my head down. But Put my head down on that one. But outside of that, man, yeah, just Final Fantasy, still playing Destiny. Been playing it on Stadia, by the way, man. Stadia is pretty good, man. If you want, right now, Stadia Pro is free for a month, and you can play games like Destiny and any other games they got for free right now. But all you gotta do is throw your credit card in there. As soon as you throw it in there, you just cancel the membership, and you still keep the subscription for the rest of that month. So try it out. If you have an internet connection that is really good, there is no it's a slight latency. It's like playing on a high-end TV, like a high-end TV without game mode. But it's not terrible at all. Okay. It's very doable. So that is an option for some people that you can do, especially if you are one of those people that are at work, or since everybody is stuck at home, the main TV that you play on might be kind of taken up. So it gives you a chance to like play on like your monitor and stuff like that. You can play those same games that you have over there. And then what's his name? A couple other people, I saw some pictures on Twitter, made me go back to God of War. Oh, Mooch was playing God of War, and it made me want to go back down that road to finishing out my platinum. So I've been dabbling back and forth with that. I had 3 Valkyries left to kill. I killed 2 of them, and I'm looking at the big one right now, which is
I can't beat that last one. That is the one I have tried beating them all except for the one at the end, and my God, I have died 50 times. Like, it's one of the few things I have not done on that game is be able to whip her ass cowboy style, I have not been able to do it.
Yeah, it's because she has especially if you did, she has a mixture of she's basically every last one of them together. I tried my go at it a couple of times, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna come back to this. You know, I'm about to go level up to get some more gear, because that's the one thing people don't realize about the game. You can still progress your gear even after you beat the game. So I'm going back to do a couple of things like that. Still looking for these freaking collectibles and these just stupid stuff in the game, because I want to get the platinum now. But outside of that, that's pretty much it. And just, you know, Final Fantasy as much as I can until this game is over. I am currently about 17 hours in.
Okay,
so good. 17 or 18 now.
Nice. Well, listen, this is again a small topic to kind of, you know, whet our appetite to some of the big ones we got going on. You saw my advertisement. I like doing that. And of course, we're going to get right into the nitty gritty of this. Now, look, I'll put it this way. As someone who has been covering gaming from a professional level, if you will, as a content creator for the last 2.5 years, I have had my ear and my eye to the floor of what moves and shakes. You know, if you want to have a successful channel, you got to put in the work. You got to put in the time. And a lot of the time is reading and, you know, and trying to maintain an opinion that is fair. And I think I do come across as having a fair opinion. And, you know, it has been very interesting to watch Sony basically dominate an entire generation with incredible games, a more powerful console up until 2017, magical marketing, and just doing things that just seem to outpace Microsoft at every turn. And I'm going to say something that may be getting old to people, like, oh my God, when we're talking about it again, but you have to bring up the turning point that has changed destinies. And December 12th, 2019, you like that, through Destiny's in there. How you like them apples? December 12th, 2019, Microsoft did something so out of character, so unpredictable, that it shocked the world, and it has continued the shock waves through up until today's podcast. And the hit parade for Microsoft has been nothing short of industry changing, monumental, groundbreaking, goosebump inducing, however you want to put it. And in the last couple of days, the fever pitch from Microsoft has been, again, nothing short of what I just said about Sony, and I use the word magical. It's something in the water they're drinking in Redmond, a changing of the guard, Phil Spencer's vision being seen, however you want to put it, whatever you want to equate it to. It has been so much fun to watch. Now, understand, no one here is going to poke fun at Sony. We understand Sony is going to have the bangers. They're going to have the God of War 2. They're going to have the Horizon trilogy, which we're going to talk about, which was just dropped. That we're going to be talking about that on Primetime Gaming. We know The Last of Us. We know what they have coming. We don't know much about the console. We know the console's less powerful. Okay, big deal. Some people love the control. Some people hate it. I happen to like it. So that's where I stand on that. I really want to get it in my hands. But we have to move the spotlight away from Sony. They have stumbled and bumbled, and whatever's going on over there, whether you want to admit it or not, there's a real problem. Okay. Now, what the problem is, I couldn't tell you. I can speculate like everybody else, and I can start off by saying when you get rid of your entire team and you're left with rookies, which is what Jim Ryan is as the leader, and of course Herman Holst as taking over for the gentleman before him that disappeared like Jimmy Hoffa. This is what happens. You have disarray. You have
Sean would never lie to me.
Sean Layden. That's right. Sean Layden, which, by the way, is one of my favorite executives for Sony. I loved his energy. I loved the way he was excited. People broke his balls about him wearing tight suits. All right, so the guy's a little chunky. So what? So am I, for Christ's sake. Leave him alone. But he was great for what he did for Sony. Sony doesn't have that anymore. So now we're going to take that light away from Sony because they don't deserve it, in my opinion. And we're going to put this on to, of course, why we're here. And I'm going to bring up something that Phil Spencer tweeted out yesterday that sent shockwaves through the entire industry. And it said this: reviewed plans yesterday for continued sharing through launch. Team is doing great work and adapting. I've never been more excited about Xbox plans. We've heard you. You want transparency, authenticity. We plan to keep showing that. Next step, not too much of a wait. In parentheses, games. Now, first of all, this might be, one of the bigger tweets this year from Phil, and he's had quite a few. And, one of the things and one of the running jokes that have been in everyone's timeline at one point or another have been the fact that Xbox has no games, right? It's the most preposterous, foolhardy thing, because I don't know about you guys. I personally own almost 1,100 games. And I have 14 terabytes of hard drive space that takes that up. So I have plenty of games on my Xbox. It's again, one of the things that we've been hearing, and we're all content creators in one form or another, is that, well, we know what the control looks like, we know what the box looks like, we know that they're going to that the Xbox Series S is home being tested. It's in the take home program like the X was in last December. And so we know we're getting both consoles, but everyone's like, well, we want the games. Consoles, and the numbers are great on the console, but if you have no games, it sucks. And we know the games are coming now, and we've seen some Halo stuff. We've seen a ridiculous amount of Fable stuff. So, Mr. Bedbit, I want to bring you in first because obviously you are a fan favorite. Your opinion, I think, is probably one of personally my favorites because you come at this from a very logical point of view. Mm-hmm. And even though you have a Sony-centric channel and Sony is where you lay your head at night, you can also recognize that there is something going on at Microsoft that may or may not be going on at Sony currently. Yeah. And it seems a little out of whack. So let's get into what Phil said. The transparency part and the authenticity part is something that I think, it's, to me, it just screams community. It screams that we hear you. We want you to know what we know, and we're going to give it to you. How powerful, from a Sony's point of view, from a Sony's fans' point of view, how powerful is the leader of Xbox putting this out for the masses to to digest.
When it comes to like positive, because typically you could try to follow me on Twitter at Mr. Babbitt. You look at my followers. Typically, I consider myself only following people that have thoughtful opinions, and I don't.
Well, that brings something good to the community, which you are a community first kind of a dude.
And to me, when I talk to people that love PlayStation, but also at the very end of the day love games, we're not here like in the Sony corner going, Phil's lying to you, he's a piece of crap. We all like him, and I think that's just like a general like I think consensus is that gamers like Phil. I think the gamers like Phil more than they like Microsoft, more than they like PlayStation, because Phil is what Herman Holtz is. He's a developer. He's made games
at heart.
What it takes. Yeah, at heart. Just like Iwata. Iwata was a developer at HAL Labs before taking the leadership over at Nintendo. So when you have people that are developers that are in the head positions of these companies, you do, or at least understand what they're going through. You do get something special. And what place like Xbox was able to do something really awesome. They read the room literally with games like Destiny, games like The Division, games as service games. Publishers, developers, they all wanted crossplay before Microsoft wanted crossplay. And Phil read that room, and then he went out and he's just like, okay, developers want this, let's start doing it. And let's start championing it. Let's own this. And I think they did that perfectly, because they when I think who led the charge for crossplay, it is Microsoft. It is Epic Games. It isn't Sony. So when it comes to the leadership and the lack of transparency, and something that I do need to push a little bit back on is, look, Jim Ryan says a lot of stupid things on camera. He's not a very good face at all. What they need is a good spokesman, but he knows how to sell a console.
And he does. Look what he did in Europe. Exactly. Look what he did in Europe.
And what we're seeing right now, which a lot of people, it sucks for me, because as a PR and as a communications guy, it sucks to see what Sony has done is consolidated their workforce to be actually imaging that of Microsoft, to be more centralized. Herman Holst, again, I can't wait to see what he does in that position, because I actually think he's in a better position than Sean Layden, because he understands this is a guy that led Guerrilla Games into that what we see it is today, right?
So again, what he was able to do, I don't think people give him enough credit. Remember, they were just the Killzone team.
Exactly.
And, right?
Yeah, and so to see where PlayStation is, I think the big difference here is that Microsoft is so much more transparent in the way that they talk to their audience, or at least come across more transparent. Their PR team, their communications division, is on another level right now. I know a few people that work there, and they are pumped. They are excited to show you what they have. And I bet Sony devs and communications are as well. But right now, that's the thing that's in disarray. So to see Microsoft go out and say, hey, listen, from what I read, that tweet is like, we have so many more announcements leading into their main announcement in May, that this Red Dead Redemption 2 was only the beginning, and we're going to see more of this. And all Microsoft has to do now is wrap it up with a nice little bow.
Yeah,
and that's all they got to do. So all they got to do is find the wrapping paper, and they've got this. They have something really awesome. And at the end of the day, it's something that I've been preaching for years now, which is I want to see Microsoft do better. I do want to see games that, not specifically I want, because that's always what I hear is like, like when people are like, I want games like Sony, it's like, well, then play that platform. This isn't for you. You know what I mean? Like,
why you own multiple platforms, because if you want a game like that maybe someone other doesn't have, you can go there and play. Now, again, maybe that's not that may not be the answer people want to hear. And I hear you. I understand that gaming is expensive.
Yeah.
It's the same way with like VR, for instance. Like a lot of people want Microsoft to push the envelope in VR. And even though I would like it, and but I don't think it's necessary.
No.
For me, I have 2 other locations where I go.
Exactly. And I think what the only thing that I want to see now from Microsoft, because Phil Spencer has nailed everything that I want to see from Microsoft. They are aggressive. They are fighting for this space. Is I don't want to see games from them that are going to take the conversation away from Sony. And as a Sony fan, like I want Halo Infinite to be as good as, God of War on PlayStation, because when Xbox, we get into these stupid conversations, these stupid tribalism things of like whose box is better. And at the end of the day, none of these companies care if you get sick. So it shouldn't really matter. But like at the end of the day, it should be what experiences am I getting as a person from these consoles, from these manufacturers. And so when I see Microsoft taking these aggressive steps, the last thing I need to see is like, all right, and Phil Spencer's promise, all right, let's see the games, let's see. And even also, and before this rant is over, even if, because I right now, it looks like can only get one console at launch. It seems to be PlayStation. Even if that's the case, the thing that Microsoft's doing right now as well, when it comes to like cloud and when it comes to Game Pass, it's like, cool. All right, listen, I can't buy a console, so I'm just going to play it on my PC. And that is so awesome because they want you to. They don't, at the end of the day, the cool thing about Xbox.
If you have a PC that's able, and it sounds like that you do,
a phone,
you're not going to be out of the conversation.
Yeah, like the fact of the matter is that Microsoft's changed the conversation of like, just game. We don't even care if you buy our box. We just want you to play Game Pass. And I think at the end of the day, that is the coolest message. Because when I hear the naysayers, like, they don't even care about Xbox anymore. I'm like, no, they still do. Just put an asterisk on it. They're thinking about the deeper future of games. They're thinking the 5-year, 10-year meta game of where they're guessing where gaming's going to be in 10 years. And that's the coolest thing is like right now, there are people a small bit that will grow that's playing Halo on their phone. They don't need an Xbox. And that is at the end of the day, I think the coolest thing that Xbox is doing. So, you know what, man, I'm all ready for the next gen. I'm ready to see these corporations actually start fighting for my wallet again. That's the thing that excites me.
No, I agree. I think what you're saying is really well thought out. It's thought provoking as always. You know what? I want to get Gaming Forte in on a conversation because he may have to leave in about half an hour, and I don't know how long we're going to be on this conversation. So I want Gaming Forte. I want to bring in on this. Before I do, let me just thank a couple of people. Spider-Man drops an outstanding and very generous $10 super chat and says, "What if the reason for GTA 6 for GTA 6 going to be moderately sized is because each DLC rollout would be a different decade." Now that sounds dope. And I would be okay with that because I would love a 70s and 80s and a 90s. And he actually says that the base game is in the 80s, which we know, which was a big time for, cocaine and drugs and in that era of the 80s, and then 6 months it switches to the 90s and so forth. I like the way you're thinking. I like the idea, and I think that it would behoove the developers, if they're looking to change their ideology and get away from this crunch culture, which we know has been going on over there, to make a medium-sized game and do exactly that. Maybe come back to a different era and allow the player to go back and forth. That actually is a fantastic and very interesting perspective, and a very good friend of the show and a very generous friend of the show. Philly Eagle drops a $5 super chat and says this question: do people keep saying they need to show games because they don't show a game you want? I've seen tons of games from Xbox. Sure, you'll have to, and that's a thought-provoking comment there, dude, because you know what? We've seen at least 3 games for the next generation Xbox in the form of Everwild, Hellblade 2, Senua's Saga, and of course Halo Infinite. So
And Project Mara.
What's that?
And Project Mara.
And Project Mara.
We're seeing games. Yeah, like, and I'm sorry, I'm just, for one more thing, and then I'll mute my mic. I swear to God.
Yeah, that's okay. Now come on in. This is a conversation.
That's the point I always try to make when I hear that argument of like, well, Xbox doesn't have any games. They don't have games you want to play, so then just play the games you want to play on where you want. Like I hear the same when Xbox fanboys go to flame PlayStation, like they only have action open world games. Well, if people really like that, and it shows that they do, numbers
I like that, by the way.
Yeah, then that's their audience. That's what they're trying to capitalize on. Like, not every game has to be for you, and it's not meant to be for you.
Yeah, I have a t-shirt that I'm gonna work on. I don't know if I'm gonna get it out on time. Hopefully no one steals my idea. And not every game is for every gamer! Exclamation point. All right, so listen, Forte, let's get you in on this. First of all, let's just try and paint a real nice picture here of this thievery of mindshare that we've seen Microsoft. This basically this heist of mindshare that Microsoft pulled off right in front of our eyes, right? Mm-hmm. So if you want to look back and just take a small snippet, we're not going to go all the way back. We're just going to go for this week. And we're gonna see, and I'm gonna bring up a picture of what the official Twitter account of Xbox had to say. So let's start with Monday. Monday was all Cyberpunk 2077 goodness, right? We got the hard drive reveal, the charging stand, the controller, the headphones. We know the console is going to be available to pre-order, and I'm praying I'm able to get my hands on that because that console is dope. And then that was followed by one of the most requested games, or the most horrendous secrets in the industry of gaming, by a ton of Fable tweets. Of course, talking about the official Xbox Twitter account that did, the tweet with the hangman and the 3 people and the chicken head, and it was deciphered. And of course, Zemi Games, if you're listening, he had his redemption because chickens and kicking chickens possibly are going to make their way back to Fable, which he said needs to be in the game, right? Then we had the insane, regardless of whether or not it's real, that massive 4chan Halo Infinite leak, right? That we discussed yesterday in detail. In fact, if you missed yesterday's show, I'm going to say this. It was probably one of my favorite, not just of 2020. It was probably my favorite Xbox Factor podcast of all time because the topics were monstrous. So if you missed it, I'm telling you, and you want 2 hours of Xbox goodness, check out yesterday's show. So you had the 4chan leak. Then yesterday morning, as I was drinking my coffee and having my toasted bagel with cream cheese, I read that Red Dead Redemption 2 is coming into Game Pass, which is ridiculous. And then, of course, this morning, Insipid Ghost, host of the Xbox Expansion Pass, which everyone should be listening to, tweeted about this game that just came to Game Pass, Deliver Us the Moon, another one. But the hit parades continue, Gaming Forte, because this was put out there by the Xbox official account that says next week is about to be the best week ever. I mean, are you kidding me? After this week, are you kidding me? Are you saying that it's going to be better? What are your thoughts on the Phil Spencer comment from yesterday? But more importantly, I'm interested to hear what your theories on what the hell is coming next week.
Oh, man. So we all know that they have to talk about this system and get this system out there and all this information about what's going on with either the X or the rumored Lockhart that is the worst rumor ever. So they have to get that out there because they definitely don't want to bore people down with the specs of what these systems are going to be any further. And they want to make sure that they keep that separate from their main conversation around the games. That's what they did last year. That's what they want to do this year. Or not last year. This is what they did back in when the X came out, and they did it in 2 separate events. So Oh man, it's about that time. I know that we keep seeing things saying that their June reveal is still going forward as a digital showcase, that which is going to replace E3. So this is right on schedule. Right at the beginning of May, we're going to get some more conversation, hopefully around everything we need to know about this box, and some glimpses at least into some of the games that we're going to get on the system. Maybe just a couple of screenshots or something like that. Maybe some stuff in motion just to show off the capability of these systems. So I think that's what we're going to get next week, and we're going to get that full blowout in June of pretty much game after game after game, which is the one thing that everybody is looking forward to from Microsoft coming up for the rest of this year. When it comes to these tweets, it's pretty masterful. I love it because they're taking pages from, their rival when it came to the things that they would do in situations like this. Right now, I think what they're doing fits the age that we're in. Everybody is super hyper focused on everything news related. Even if it's from politics, if it's from video games, everybody's paying attention to all the tea leaves. More people are paying attention to social media than ever before.
Yep.
Because they're sitting at home. So what they're doing, they're not spending massive marketing on stuff like that when it comes to like TV promotions and stuff right now, because social media is where it's at. So that's where they're spending most of their time just doing it, and it's free. You don't got to pay for that. You just throw some information out there, and everybody starts gawking at the eyes to see exactly what you're talking about. So this just continues the conversation of how well they had been doing since December, and continuing all the way through April. And the funny thing is, people are still just taking a wait and see approach, because as of right now, they still have a lot to prove, because the games are the things that we're looking forward to. So the faster they can get the information about this box out there, and how much the price of it's going to be, when are we going to be able to get it? Are they going to talk about the shortages, and are they going to tell people like, hey, make sure you go out and pre-order this system, because there will be shortages. We will have them throughout the year, but getting them is going to be a premium for the people if you want it day one. I would love for them to really hunker down and talk about stuff like that, because I think that's going to be a part of the global strategy when it comes to people that want to get this system. And that's also in tune with what PlayStation needs to do too. So I think this is a really, really good start to the end of an already crappy second quarter, and knowing that the third quarter is going to be a lot better going forward, and knowing that Microsoft is still going ahead with their plans for this system is amazing. And the more they talk about this like this, the more I'm just 100% certain that there won't be any delays of this.
Yeah, they seem overly confident.
Yes. Because they're not talking like, if you thought there was going to be a delay of the system in general, they wouldn't be talking like they talking. Now, granted, they could be just telling people about games and stuff and not really talk about the system, which I don't think. I think the two go together at this point. You can't really, hype everybody up with a system reveal and then come back and hype them up with the games and not already had told them everything about the system. So I think they're kind of married at the hip with those two things. So the more and more they talk, the more and more I just believe that this is an imminent launch. It's just going to come down to who is the lucky people to get their hands on one day one, when they reserve, and you know that you're going to get it at the end of the year. But I really, truly love the direction, and Phil Spencer in general, doing his interviews, just putting out masterful tweets, going all the way back to putting the SOE on his Twitter profile, letting people know that this is the first glimpse of what the new X is going to have inside of it. It's all just been step after step after step of preparing them to get to this point, and that has not changed or wavered in the middle of the pandemic that we're in. And for gamers, for people that it affects everybody, but it doesn't affect gamers as much, because like I love what Bungie said in their TWAB a month ago. They said gamers have been preparing for this for their whole lives.
Yeah.
And it was like, so you are going to be right at home. Let's support the people that are going to be struggling through this. And Microsoft is doing their part by giving people entertainment that's going to be able to last them throughout, not the rest of this year, through next year and the years going forward. So I really like the direction they're going in with this. And I just hope that I hope people get what they want. At this point, I just want people to be happy with whatever reveal they do next month or next week. And then whatever they're going to do in June is just going to be the icing on the cake.
Well, I mean, I agree. I agree. I think that this is, again, it's one of those instances where a couple of years ago, when Phil took over, when he officially was promoted to his current position in late 2017, I went out and did, basically the state of Xbox, and he said a bunch of things that he wanted to do. In my personal opinion, and you can disagree, and that's perfectly fine, I think not only has he delivered, I think he's actually over-delivered. Because, who would have thought that in April of 2020, we were going to know for a fact that Microsoft has 15 plus first-party studios. I mean, compared to where they came from, right? Did we ever see this happening? Did you ever consider that after stumbling out of the gate in 2013, would manage to somehow take that power back in that 2017 with the Xbox One X, and then that same ideology move it forward? And when Phil said we are not going to be outpaced in either price or power against the PlayStation 5, that was a line in the sand. People don't, because Phil said it in a way that was, of course, welcoming, and it's, the Phil Spencer way. But he was drawing a line in the sand. And then when he came out during that IGN interview and said, "Oh no, we're all ready to pivot on the price," basically telling you to your face, without actually telling you to your face, that whatever Sony is going to do, we are going to counter it.
Right.
That's balls of steel. Now, if you may not think so, that's fine. I hear you. But I'm telling you that as an Xbox fan who now covers all three consoles, semi-professional, because no one's hired me yet. I'm doing this out of my apartment in my corner with all of my collectibles, right? Until of course I make the announcement that Xbox has hired me. And of course, that is the end game. Anyone from Microsoft headhunting, looking for an older gentleman, but someone who does bring the professionalism, if you will, I will take the job. But you know what? What you said was great and absolutely fantastic.
Yeah,
and,
I do. I'll just add this one thing.
Yeah,
I didn't want to go into the weeds with that Halo article because I love everything in it. The one thing I will say is I've been thinking about them being supposedly a reboot of the franchise. That sounds like, for some people that might sound scary, but for me, thinking
that
about
sounds
it,
like a winner chicken dinner.
For me, it sounds like if you want to do Halo, if they want to do Halo right and they want to basically start it over and make it a platform, this is what they need to do. They need to go back and basically wash away everything that they did when it came to Halo 4, Halo 5, Halo 6, and then go back and just reboot the franchise and say, this is the platform for now on, and we'll build on this platform for the foreseeable future. Them rebooting this basically tells me that I think Halo Infinite, for the most part, is going to be like Destiny is. You're going to get one game and you're going to get iterations added on to it.
The D word.
Yep. Yeah. You're going to people. I love it. Look, man, it's one thing that Bungie did right when they built that game. They built a platform that lasts and people love it to death. And Halo was the first iteration of what Destiny was. I just think 343 has finally came to their senses and said, hey, if we want this game to be everything we need it to be, especially in this growing economy of games, of services like BRs and stuff like that, I think they need to refresh the game completely from the ground up, take some things that were really great about the original Halo, but add new skills and stuff to the game that's going to make not only the hardcore generation care about the game, but the new gen to care about the game, because that's where they kind of lost a lot of the love for Halo. They really weren't speaking to anybody with the new games in certain instances. So now reboot this thing and tell us exactly how we're going to engage with the content. And if it's on a platform level, I think that's the best thing they can do, because it gives them time to build that game out over the course of many years, instead of just saying, here's a game, enjoy it, see you at the next game in like 5 to 6 years. Now we got an opportunity to like really dive deep into what that Halo ecosystem, that Halo lore, which everybody wish was in the game completely, instead of having to go to a book and read it. Now you can get all that stuff into a game, and then you can get people like Atriox added to the actual base game, instead of just being stuck in Halo Wars. Because people, that's the one thing that people requested the most. When can we get Atriox in the base?
He's a scary MF, that dude. Let me tell you,
because he's like one of the best characters they have in that franchise.
Yeah,
and they made him in the offshoot. Not saying they couldn't find a way to bring him into the main story, but this gives them an opportunity to do that. And that's what I'm excited for the most when it comes to the leaks I heard from that. On top of it being like almost 45 hours in gameplay with all the different chapters they're adding to the game, if that's all to be believed.
See, for me, that single player campaign is going to be 60 plus hours, because I like looking at every corner, every nook, every cranny. I say it in almost every show, and I'm not embarrassed about it. I play my games methodical like that, because I want to enjoy every aspect of the game. I'm a trophy hunter, not as much as an achievement hunter. I do like my trophies too. I think I'm just a snag away from 13. Okay, that's not great, but it's probably better than most. But for Halo, man, let me just throw a comparison. And then I'm gonna get Crispy Bomb in here, because I know he's chomping at the bit to talk about this. You know what I'm hoping for, and what I'm praying for with 343 as a studio and as a major first party pillar, right? This is what I'm hoping for. In 2016, I talk about this all the time. Capcom was on the ropes, right? They were on the ropes of bankruptcy, and they put themselves in this ditch. And how did they do that? How did they get there? Because their answer to Resident Evil 5 was the shit bomb, pardon my French, known as Resident 6, which was an abomination of a game. It was trying to be Gears of Resident of War. That's what it was trying to do. And it's one of the only Resident Evil games that I've never beaten. I find it very, very difficult to play through. I just thought it was awful, right? And then they saw the errors of their way, and there was a resurgence in the company unlike anything we've ever seen. The only thing that matches Capcom's comeback is Nintendo Wii U to the Switch, right? Those are two stories. Those are two feel-good stories that you saw. These two companies that were dominant at one point and completely fell off the map, and they crawled all the way back up to the top of the mountain. Beautiful thing to see. 343 is in a very unique position, because it was, coming off of Halo Reach, which is considered, I believe Mr. Badbit said it's one of his favorite Halos of all time, and mine as well. Actually, that is up there. Mm-hmm. For me, it's 3. For me, it's 3. That's my favorite Halo of all time, followed by Reach. And what I'm hoping for is, we saw them come out with 4. Now, I thought the 4 single player campaign was fantastic. Multiplayer, not so much. And we know how I feel about the single player on 5. Did not like it at all. Did not like it at all. What I'm hoping for is the same kind of comeback for 343 in a way, with this new engine and all of this money and all of this time and all this backing from Microsoft for Halo Infinite to kind of jumpstart or soft reboot the franchise and give us something new, something different. The same way we went from Resident 6 to Resident 7. I'm hoping we see the same thing go from Halo 5 to Halo 6 or Halo Infinite. So I'm hoping that is going to be the case. You know what, Crispy Bomb, I'm going to put something up on the screen, because on top of the already outstanding goodness that we've already seen. Aaron Greenburg had to get in on the conversation. I like Aaron. Aaron's a really good dude. He helped me out personally with my Gears of War controller, the Elite controller that was damaged, sent in for repair, and instead of sending it back, they sent me one in black. And I was devastated, and he jumped in, and I'm always going to be in his debt for that. He put himself out on Twitter, and he said this: if anyone had any doubt, Team Xbox is not taking the summer off. Hashtag stay tuned. Hashtag X is going to give it to you. And you know something? May not be the biggest news bomb, right? May not be the, oh, wow, he really let it out there. But it's just it's the little things, right? It's the little twigs that build a bridge. And it's everything. I mean, this week alone has been so packed with Xbox news. You could only smile from ear to ear. And this is kind of like the cherry on top. Not the tastiest part of the sundae, but it's good nonetheless. What are your thoughts on what they did, what they've shown, Phil Spencer's tweet, and then, of course, this?
Oh man, if they had like a presentation right now, Phil coming out on DMX X gonna give it to you, like what I'm saying, like I had that like vision in my head just now when you said it. I'm like this is bringing me back to when I was a teenager. For
that'd be something like out of the old WCW days.
Yeah. But and I'll be honest with you, it's only fitting that Aaron says that, because I mean, we have watched, this company was on the ropes too. Like, we're not saying, obviously Microsoft is not going to go under, but at some point, a large company's got to look at a piece of its company and say, is it worth it? And if Phil Spencer didn't come in, I think we may not see Xbox anymore.
I agree.
You know what I'm saying? Phil came in with a passion. He literally got them to get him at the table, for God's sake. The guy could probably, easily be the next one in line to run the whole company for all we know. You know what I mean? And this is because he took a product and he said, here's it all out there, all on paper. This is where we screwed up. This is where we have to fix this. And you know what? Everybody keeps saying, oh, we've heard this 100 times. Oh, get ready for all these games. They're coming this time, people. I know you've had these feels. We've had these conversations. Can't really understand why we don't see enough of what we want. And now it's all going to come. And it's going to come whenever they want now, because, everything's been canceled. They can do what they want. They're going to use social media. They clearly are just super excited. They keep dropping little tidbits it feels like almost every day. Mm-hmm. So imagine if you're able to do that, you have so much in the pipeline, as Phil said on numerous interviews, that you could literally go until launch and every week have something coming out and something talked about. So we're going to see a lot of things that we weren't expecting, I think, also. Yeah. I also want to call people out. You know what? If you don't like the games that come out, don't play them. Go play PlayStation, okay? Because it's not going to be all these AAA story-driven bangers. This is not what Xbox is here for. Xbox it has Game Pass. It needs diversity. That's why I got my girlfriend to buy one. She sees all these different games on there. She's old school like me. She's played Sega and Nintendo. She loves those type of games. There's games that are, smaller that really scratch that itch for her. So, and the subscription model is the reason why she went out and got one. Okay, because now she doesn't have to worry about buying individual games, spending that $60 when she may not have it. And I'm telling you, you're going to eventually see PlayStation go to the same route. Now, that's why they went and partnered with Microsoft, in my opinion. They're probably partnering even more in the back end that we don't know about. But in the end, go play what you want, for the love of God. And stop. And I'm telling you right now, the sleeper game that's coming out is Grounded. I'm telling you right now, that game is a sleeper.
Yeah.
and people are ignoring it. Like even when I watch, because if you watch I watched on my phone and I watched on my TV. I'm gonna tell you right now, that game looks a lot better than people think if you didn't watch it on your TV.
Well, you know what? It's funny you should bring it up because the Game Informer show, they have a podcast, Game Informer, which I happen to like. I still, that's one of the few industry magazines I still read and actually listen to. They're all loving it. They're all really enjoying it. If you want to hear about Grounded and you know, their podcast, I think just launched yesterday, and they talk. It's the lead. You know, it's the Game Informer cover game, and there's a tremendous amount of breakdown in that new issue, as well as what they talked about. They are really enjoying it. So I think that there might be something here.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean it's you know, it's playing off a lot of models that have already worked, but I feel like, you know, it's similar in ways but different in others. And you know, I've been watching a lot of like weird things on YouTube that I wouldn't normally watch, like some of the PC gamers, what they play, and they play some very quirky type games that aren't really something you think would be fun or whatever. And I'm getting interested into it, like, you know, so like I've heard people like even say like, oh, if they had a game like this that had you could ride the bugs and stuff, and I'm like, holy shit! And this is from like 3 years ago. You know what I mean? I'm like, well, there you go, you got a game now. But you know, and that's what I'm saying. They're looking at it. They're subscription based. You know, there's going to be certain games that have microtransactions, certain games that are going to put out DLC. You know, that you pay $10, $20. You know what I mean? They're going to use the Game Pass model. And we're going to get things that we have never seen. And that's where Forte, you might be onto something with that. I was not thinking that type of route. But I mean, if you think about how long WoW or some of these other games have been in, you know, they just constantly keep going and going and going. Mm-hmm. So, you know, who says you can't do that with a game like Halo? You know, I don't know how they would take that. But I mean, I could see where they're trying to even do that with the operations and Gears, for example. Like they're trying to prolong the game, you know. So like we might see a new Gears in 6 years instead of 3. You know what I'm saying? So it just be mindful that, you know, it's not going to be this, you know, Hellblade every game. You know what I mean?
That's like, fine. That's, you know, again, it just goes to the old adage: is not every game is for every gamer. Now, the Gaming Forte, I know you got to bounce, brother. So listen, thanks so much for being here, dude. Super appreciate it. And we'll see you Monday evening.
Yeah, man. You guys make sure you just keep this gaming topic going, man. This has been amazing. Wish I could have been here longer, but unfortunately, person got to go sell some stuff at the door.
Yeah.
Well, be careful, brother, and we'll talk soon.
All right, definitely.
Yeah, later, Forte.
Well, you know, Crispy, again, great, once again, tremendous points. And it just goes to the adage that not every game is going to be for you. And because Xbox Game Pass is going to be something important for the company moving forward, they need games in there that are going to appeal to everyone. And that means the 50-year-olds and the 5-year-olds. And Grounded looks like a game like Minecraft Dungeons that is going to attract the younger crowd. Why do you think the newly designed Xbox Series X controller is slightly smaller? Because if you listen to when they describe that controller, they want it to be as comfortable in my hands at 49 or an 8-year-old's hands. You understand what I'm saying? And this is the forward thinking of a corporation that is going to be in gaming for years to come. This is not someone looking to make a quick buck and get the F out of there. They are looking to, and that's what I love about Microsoft. Now, again, I understand this is a multi-plat show, and we're going to be talking about Sony in a second, but you have to applaud the way that Microsoft is inclusive. They want everyone to play their games, and I think that should be applauded.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and you just look at the adaptive controller and things like that. They've literally, and the thing I have a problem with is not a lot of people are making fun of them anymore, are they? Because they pushed all of these pro gamer things, and people are like, "Oh, you can't do that," or "Oh, that's not going to be successful," or you know what I mean? And it's like you're going, as Phil said, you're going for the gamer. That's his whole point, is that, you know, it's not about, you know, what, you know, we don't care. They know we don't look at each individual person and are like, we have to do this for them. Do we try to listen? Sure. Absolutely. You know what I mean? And he listened. Like, you know, those studios aren't not doing anything. So, keep that in mind. Because, I mean, don't get me wrong. These games aren't going to all come out at launch. You might see one that we weren't thinking of. You know what I mean? But at the same time, next year is going to be the real big year because, people right now are kind of influx now. So it's like more logical to have all these games come out in a year or two. So, well, I'm ready. Like they got me chomping at the bit. I'm like, come on, give it to me. Give me all the goodness, please. But yeah, it's really, I can't wait because I think finally some of us that, are logical, saying Sony's kicked our butt forever are also probably at the least some of us are Sega fans and would have loved to see this back then. And we actually said this, I said this off air, like imagine if Sega, came back like this. I think it would have been amazing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, that's a great point. Listen, as we close in on nearly 400 people checking the show out, thank you so much. Let me catch up on some of these super chats, and we're going to move right into, of course, the next topic. J1405NL drops an outstanding and very generous $2 super chat, but doesn't leave a message. Jay, if you want me to say anything or answer a question, just hit me up in the chat. Sin Vendetta, a very generous member of the chat on a daily and weekly basis, he drops a $5 super chat and says this: Forte, I wish I could give you my pre-order for the Series X and PS5 because you deserve it. From a former GameStop employee, CA. Yeah, wow, dude, that's nice of you, man. I'm sure he would appreciate that. And a very good friend of the show who's always here and is also very generous. Pixel Bit G drops a $10 super chat and says this: true Halo fans read, hunt for terminals, and love the lore. What they need to get are the casuals. Great show, guys. Please refrain from describing Halo fans as folks who don't read heretics. I look for everything in Halo. I want to know it all. And not everyone plays the same way I do. And Sikio Yumi drops a very generous $2 super chat and says this: good job. Joe, good job on Xbox Drive. No plug, double barrel. That was good, Joe. I like that. You know what? Let's do this. Let's rein this in for a second, because RDX is a podcast, an Xbox podcast run by Dealer Gaming, and the panel that they have are well and widely known. Mm-hmm. And this particular week, this Tuesday show, they had Optimus Code on there, but they had Chris Grinnell, who worked for Sony and oh my God, I can't believe it. He worked for the Killzone team. Guerrilla Games. Thank you. And he worked for Sony for 15 years. And during this podcast, which has now not only probably hit over 25,000 views, so good on Dealer for that, but his particular podcast has been picked up on what was said. And we're going to break this down, because I am going to start off with this. If you would have asked any Sony fan last year what 2020 was going to look like for them as a fan, there would have been balloons, there would have been confetti, there would have been a ticket tape parade down pick your favorite boulevard, and they would not have been wrong to say that, because quite frankly, they were coming off announcing over 110 million consoles shipped worldwide, which is monster. Coming off of 2018 success of God of War, Spider-Man, Detroit Become Human. Now, 2019 wasn't the strongest year, in my opinion. Days Gone, I bought it, played 30 hours, never went back to it. Was nice enough to get a copy of Death Stranding from my brother. Put about 60 hours into the game, and then probably am not going back. Got too close to the end, and it just became so much of a grind. I don't know if I'll ever finish it. And then, of course, 2020. Well, I mean, think about this. Final Fantasy VII is a hit for them. They're selling more PlayStations now than they probably did last year, because Final Fantasy VII is so widely renowned, and it's moving consoles. And then of course we have the delay, the delay of Last of Us 2, which we don't know when that's coming. If it's coming this year, it probably is. And we don't know if that delay is going to cause a movement of Ghost of Tsushima, which is going to be fantastic. We don't know if that's going to move its way into March of next year and have some more development time, or is it going to hold it and use it as a launch title for the PS5? We don't know, right? But there's a lot of questions going on. And of course, the two Bloomberg reports, the one recently from last week that talked about a $500 price tag, talked about overheating. We've heard from different sources that were unidentified during this Bloomberg report, that there's a lot of disarray and infighting going on at Sony, which again, based on what we've seen and what we've talked about before, there could be truth to that. Well, former Sony designer Chris Grinnell has claimed that the power of the Xbox Series X caught the PlayStation developers off guard. And in this very lengthy 2-hour podcast, he had some really unbelievable things to say. So because we are now a 3-man team, we can kind of hang out a little bit and we can really kind of give our points. There's real no time limit because, obviously we want to fill up the rest of the show, so the fine folks that have come out here, nearly 400 of them, will have something to listen to and actually enjoy it. So I pulled all of his quotes from Dealer's podcast. And here, this is, I'm going to read them verbatim, then I'm going to get your opinion on this. I'll start with you first. So this is what Chris had to say. He says this, it was the developers I've been speaking to utilize some, okay, let me start over. He says this, it was the developers that I've personally been speaking to. Some said significant and staggering. There were all different types of wording being used, but there was a kind of overwhelming difference that the machine that Microsoft had put together is not only a beast compared to what Sony has put together, but is something special. PS5 is not a bad console. In fact, it's an absolute beast of a piece of hardware. But it's just a piece of hardware which is slower on numerous kinds of paths than what Microsoft has put together. I think Sony has rested on their laurels a bit. They got this massive kind of market share and lead, and they've done a bit of a PS3. Not that bad in terms of hardware and complications and things like that, but it's just a bit of it. They didn't really kind of appreciate what Xbox and Microsoft were going to try and do in terms of this kind of power narrative. Now, look, here's the thing. There's a lot to unpack here. And Chris is just one person with his particular opinion, and he obviously is doing his own thing. He's no longer with Sony. Do I think he has some sort of an agenda against Sony? No, I do not. And I think that was made clear when he talked about the PlayStation 5 in itself being a beast of a machine. It's just not as big as a beast as what the Xbox has put together. And I thought that was very fair. I do think that we have to take what he said and understand that it's one man's opinion and that he is talking to unnamed sources of other developers that are currently working with both consoles that have an opinion that says, wow, yeah, one is more significantly more powerful than the other. But with that said, Mr. Badbit, I'm interested to hear your opinion on this, what I consider to be a very damning interview, only because of what has currently gone on with Sony. If Sony was the same Sony from 2018, then this is not even a conversation I think that we have, because it's one person's opinion. The reason why I bring it up on today's show, the reason why I wanted to highlight this as a topic, isn't to pounce on Sony, isn't to pile on the rabbit. And you Bugs Bunny fans, you'll know what I'm talking about. This is to basically say that maybe these Bloomberg reports are correct. Maybe there is something going on at Sony. Maybe all of the rah-rah guys that they got rid of kind of might have hurt the company. Maybe there is some truth to the disarrayness, if you will, going on at PlayStation. But what are your opinions on this interview?
So there's a lot of maybes there, right?
Oh, there's a ton of them.
Yeah, there's a ton of
speculation, folks.
Yeah, it's a lot of maybes. It's a lot of things we don't know. It's a lot of things that, like, I already see some people in the chat like jumping to conclusions, and it's worrisome. Just like gut check in the room, it's worrisome. If you're a big Sony fan, if you care so much of how a company does over another, this worries you. Luckily, I'm not that type of person. We talked about this a bit on the trophy room. Of having a very candid discussion of how Microsoft's strategy has, in the world that is around us, has put PlayStation in a very vicarious situation where they are kind of pinned, right? Whether it is power, like, guys, let's stop arguing. First and foremost, okay, everybody in the room, the Xbox Series X is a more powerful console. By how much? I don't know. Does it matter? No, because it's a more powerful console. So if the PlayStation 5 launches at the same price as the Series X, it could be 5% more powerful. It could be 50% more powerful. What you will see at the end of every single quote when it comes to the Series X is more powerful than a PlayStation 5 at the same price. You see them then attack them at value with what is the rumored Lockhart being $299 theoretically. Again, we're all talking theoretically here. And then at the same exact time, you do have the coronavirus affecting. Well, damn it, I said the word. I'm so sorry. you have that thing affecting how Sony is communicating with their audience. Their PR team, I say it on every show, complete disarray. And then you have these interviews that are completely damning. And this is why it is so important right now that Sony has been reactive this rollout, because they have to be. Like, what we were talking about before is that, oh wait, am I still there, guys?
Yeah, you're here.
Okay, good. I'm sorry. I saw a green.
It was. You know what it is? It was too silent. We were like listening. You were like E.F. Hutton, so we were really mesmerized by what you were saying.
Yeah, exactly.
I just saw a flash on the screen on my YouTube window, and everything stayed the same. I was like, "Uh-oh." Anyway,
no, we're good. We're still live.
that right now, Sony's being reactive to Xbox because they have to be. Because like Chris was saying before, listen, Microsoft has been on point with messaging. Right, like they have been every other week. You're seeing something, Well,
it was, what, just
the strength that Microsoft has.
Yes, I just want to add to your point when you said about the messaging. Microsoft's biggest Achilles heel in what caused their failure was exactly that.
Yeah, and to I see Adam in the comments. How is their PR team in disarray? They haven't even started marketing the PS5, because marketing usually takes about 6 to 9 months before we're like where they should have been. Like let's just say theoretically they're going to E3, right? Or whatever conference they're building up. That's 6 to 9 months in the making, and all of a sudden 3 months beforehand, that whole entire lead up to how you're going to roll out the console is now over. Like every report will tell you that we should have had more information about the PS5 than we do now.
Yes,
and
I would agree. And you're in marketing, so you understand that more than most.
Yeah, and to see Microsoft, like Chris was saying before, they're so large that they can take. It's kind of like Mikey Ibarra said it on Twitter. This is a rounding error for them in terms of pricing. They could get the pricing right. They could be as aggressive as they want. For Sony, this is a serious situation because they rely on the PlayStation brand. That is their bread and butter. That is almost a third of their profit. So Sony already had to be more reactive to what was happening. And now, because of all these situations, they have to even be, they really have to dot their I's and cross their T's, right?
Yes. Yep.
So hearing this interview, it is worrisome. I don't want a complacent company because I want the best for gamers. At the same exact time, this is why Sony needs to come out and
say something
rather than later Well,
Yes.
not say something. And let me get this clear right here, right now. PR and marketing for these consoles don't, in the grand scheme of things, don't matter right now. Whatever Microsoft has said in March will not matter when they actually have their official reveal announcement at whether that's the end of May or beginning of June. Same with PlayStation. So what they really need is they need to come out in front of this and going, this is what this console does. This is why it is something you need, not more than Xbox. They want to focus on themselves and then the games. And that is the thing that is going to kind of be what they're going to hopefully surround themselves with. So when I hear these things, it just means whatever Sony needs to do, whatever Sony is doing right now, they need to prove why this SSD is so crazy cool. Because all we've heard so far is like, oh, it's 18 million times faster than the PS4 or whatever. Like we're hearing these dumb arguments of like teraflops and teraskips and teraflips, and nobody knows what they actually mean, but we're gonna use them. Right? We're gonna use these things. What Sony needs to illustrate.
Well, you know what it is? It's just because it's a grabbable number. That's why.
Exactly, it's a number. But like that's what Sony needs to focus on is what makes this the most appealing console for you to buy right here, right now. And they need to get their messaging right, because if they do falter like they did with the road of PlayStation 5, where, you know, we still don't know what the backwards compatibility thing is. Like nobody knows in stone what that looks like, right? Like, yeah, we hear forward compatibility on certain products, but like we need to know more about that. You know, we need to know what games are going to look like and run like on this console. There's still a lot of things Sony needs to do, and we're getting a month, you know, before what we would see. You know, we would see Sony begin to roll all this out, begin to talk about it. So is it worrying? Yes. Am I confident though that Sony is going to come out and they're going to say like, here's why you need to buy the thing? Yes.
Yeah, me too. I'm right there with you. Yeah, I agree.
Just like how I'm equally confident Microsoft is going to come out going, here's why you need to buy our thing. Because, you know, the one thing that I do need to state here is Microsoft, if there's, when you work in PR, the number one thing I hear is you have to justify your existence because, you know, head honchos don't think you're that essential.
Yep.
And Microsoft's PR team has proved why they are indispensable. So to me, Microsoft's in a position of strength because their PR strategy has lent itself this way. Whereas Sony has been caught completely off guard in multiple different categories. Again, at the end of the day, I've always been the gamer that, you know, I understand there's a lot of gamers that like the PS4 was more powerful, whatever. Xbox lost me because Don Matrick was a bit of a dick.
Yes, he certainly was.
That is why I went to PlayStation. It wasn't because of the power. And then the reason why I stuck around was because their exclusives spoke to me in a way that I've never had games speak to me on such a level. So that's why I game. So as long as one of these companies, not saying PlayStation or Microsoft, one of these companies comes out and goes, Joe, here are all these awesome games. Could be Halo Infinite that blows my mind. Could be Horizon Zero, whatever. You know, the reason why the Nintendo Switch is one of my favorite consoles is not because it's 1 teraflop of power. It's because there are games I cannot get anywhere else on that machine. And the way of playing it is so vastly different than what I've played games before. So that's what they need to do at the end of the day. All this, like, you know, the he said, she said, it's fun, it's cool, it is what it is. I can't disregard this guy's statements. He's a developer. He's a designer. He knows way more than I'll ever know about, you know, what it means to create something in games. So again, to me, Sony has to get in front of this sooner rather than later. I do think at the end of the day, they are going to have a similar approach that has Microsoft had done. I do think we're going to see, knock on some type of wood, a state of play in May, end of May. And I think you're going to see a whole console reveal probably mid to end of June. They need the one thing is their deadline is end of June. That's when
you actually, that's not the first time you've actually said that. You said that on the show before that you're for you as a fan, as someone that has a show based on Sony's products, you said yourself that is kind of like the tipping point. If they don't show by June, there's going to be some real, I think, force back.
Yeah, they need to start talking by the end of June, or else that is all this talk of like it's April. I don't know a thing about this console. I'm like, okay, well, that's
we still have 2 months. It's still technically E3 hasn't happened yet.
If it's like the 4th of July, I'm still inside. You know what I mean? And I still don't know anything about the PlayStation 5. Yes, I am super concerned about this console. Then like the roof is on fire. Someone call an ambulance. Someone's not doing all right over there. But until that day happens, I sit back going with the same opinion. Show me the games. Not like all Microsoft has to do is show me Fable, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm in.
I'm there. Yeah.
All Microsoft, like at the end of the day, I'll end it with this point right here. At the end of the day, the conversation on the trophy room ended with, as long as they show Spider-Man 2, God of War 2, Horizon 2, Uncharted, whatever, they're fine. And I think that's what a lot of people miss is like these games sold gangbusters. They did really well for the brand that is Sony. They're fine. And I think also when it comes to Xbox, they're also fine. I think what we're going to see at the end of the day, like this generation is going to be a lot closer than it was this generation.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. And I want to add to that point. And I've said this before, and I just want to tack this on. I think that this particular generation, the one that is going to start at the end of the year, is going to be the one where you're going to see more homes that support dual consoles outside of a Nintendo product. Meaning that yes, most gamers will have a Switch and they'll have a PS4 or an Xbox. I think that this generation, because of the amount of incredible experiences and different points of view when it comes to value, there's going to be more times than not that you're going to see people that have never done this before are going to be saying, you know what, I'm going to support both because I like what they both bring to the table.
Yeah, and I think too on the conversation here, because I've heard a lot of talk about like casuals and what they mean. Casuals are a fickle bunch, and in that word to me, I don't know if I typically like it, but I'll use it for the lack of me trying to think of a different name. People that normally aren't listening to gaming podcasts, aren't in the know like we are.
Yes, exactly.
They're a fickle bunch. They don't, and I think they've proven this generation. Power doesn't mean anything. Like, take a look how many PlayStations have sold and how well the Pro has done and how well, they don't even need to drop the price of their consoles.
I mean, but if you want to talk about power doesn't matter. Just look at what the Switch is doing. It's
exactly. That's the best one. Switch Lite, you can't find them anywhere.
Yes.
You can find oil up the wazoo. You can't find a Switch.
Gas, 5 cents a gallon.
Yeah. So like at the end of the day, at the end of the day, what's going to matter is what are you bringing to the table that I can't get anywhere else.
Yes,
and I
great
definitely
point.
Feel that both parties have very powerful brands, and at the end of the day, it's going to be what does Halo bring to the table? What is Horizon bringing to the table? What's Uncharted bringing to the table? What's Fable bringing to the table? That's going to captures people's imaginations. That's going to sell units. There is a reason why Nintendo does so well, and it's because their first party is the best in the industry, bar none. So I think we like to get ahead of ourselves with power talk. I maybe that means a lot to some people. It's never mattered to me. Look, I have a PC with a 2080 Ti. I hear it's good. I don't know. But I got people from Steel Series going, listen, we'll do a trade. Here's the thing.
Didn't you win a Cyberpunk one?
Yeah, and guess where I'm playing Cyberpunk? It's not on my PC. And that's the thing. Is like at the end of the day, it's about convenience. It's about where you want to play. And I think what everybody discounts, I think everybody plays up the Series X so much. I think the power of Xbox is not in power. It is in their way that they communicate, the way that they conduct themselves. It's in the ways of Game Pass and xCloud. That's the future of gaming. That xCloud is the future, whether we like it now, but whether we love it in 10 years. That's the true place. Like, who cares if Halo Infinite looks beautiful if it's expensive as crap, right? The cool thing about Halo Infinite is it's going to be an awesome game that theoretically a newcomer could play for $1.
Yep.
That's the power here. That's what Microsoft holds. The whole like talk of like teraflops, terraskips, we don't know what those words actually mean. It's silly to me. To me, it's all about the games, and they're both bringing them.
I mean, that's a great point. Great way to close out your absolutely outstanding attack on this particular topic. Very well spoken.
I got passionate.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I mean, listen, real quick, Crispy Bomb, I'm going to bring you in on the side of the conversation. Let me just catch up on some of these super chats. Face 23 BKNY says this. First of all, he drops a $5 super chat. Thank you for your generosity, my friend. He says, wait for the next gen consoles to release, then people can compare real world performance between the two consoles. I mean, I guess that's fair. Nothing wrong with that. And for the love of Joe, with this thing, come on. Philly Eagle once again shows his generosity and says this. He drops a $5 super chat. Why has this gen been a failure for Xbox? Exactly. What games did you sleep on that makes you feel this way? I enjoyed so many great games. Now, listen, I'm not saying that's a failure for me. I have 1,000 games, and I bought a shit ton of them this generation. I'm saying that from a different perspectives, and you can look at any way you want. You could look at it from a first party perspective. Even though I enjoyed every one of their games, there were a lot of people that did not. Mm-hmm. Again, some people measure success and failure on different levels and different ideologies, and I'm not here to tell you you're right or wrong. If you felt that it was a success, good on you. If you felt it was a failure, I just think that if you look at the game versus game, I would admit that I thought that the better and more stronger first party output was in Sony's camp, because I like those games. Now, someone may say, well, boom, I don't really like those over-the-shoulder single-player, one and dones. And I would say, well, okay, that's not a problem. But you know what? It's a very interesting point. But Crispy, let's get you in on this. Now, look, Chris Grinnell's comments on RDX took the internet by storm. And what was slightly disappointing is there really wasn't any response from Sony or PlayStation to, deflect this in any way. And when you look at some of the things that have been revealed prior to this, damning, interview or, podcast, if you will, outside of the PlayStation 5 logo, and according to the Bloomberg report, forced reveal of the DualSense controller from last week, there hasn't been a lot to talk about. I mean, obviously we saw Cerny get up there with the cardboard cutouts and do his thing and ask for people's ears, and that didn't go over too well, and that really wasn't for us because I'm not a tech head. That was more for developers, and it was marketed wrong. Because they put it out there on their social media hub that, hey, we're having an event, PlayStation 5. People got excited, and we were bored to death. And of course now Chris comes out, who again, I don't think he has an agenda. I don't think that he's going out of his way to be a dick towards Sony. I think that he was asked some questions. He answered them honestly, in my opinion. I'm interested to hear what you think about all of what seems to be not the same Sony anymore and again, look, when talking about gaming, and if you're a content creator, you can't have one without the other. So if you're going to talk about Sony, somehow or another, Microsoft is going to come into the conversation. If you're talking about Microsoft, you're probably going to talk about PlayStation. And not because we should discount Nintendo. Right now, they are selling like hotcakes. We just talked about that a second ago. But these are the two, the heavyweights, if you will, that are in the ring. And if you look at what Sony used to do to what they're doing now, it's night and day. If you look at what Microsoft did in the opening part of this generation, completely different than the aggressive behavior that they're doing now. And we have to talk about what Chris had to say. What are your personal thoughts? Do you think that his opinion, according to developers he's talked to, is as damning as I think?
Absolutely. Honestly, it's not damning in a way that we're gonna see Sony fall or anything like that. I think I truly believe we're gonna go into more of a PlayStation 3, Xbox 360 generation this time around, because I feel like Sony's doing Microsoft a huge favor right now, and they're really, and I can only say that they're reeling, because I can't really see any other reason to be as silent or to put out such bad marketing techniques that I've never seen from them. I mean, they own, like, PlayStation 2 is one of the greatest consoles ever. You know what I mean? And your marketing during that period of time was spot on great. Yes. And they did that great. And then up until 2 years, about 2 years now, is when Gears, for example, when they released the trailer, everything else, and then they announced Last of Us, which has come back to bite them, honestly. You know what I mean? That was the last time I really saw them throw the punch back. You know what I mean? And they usually did that every single time. And now it's almost like, Microsoft's just throwing stuff out there so quickly that they don't even have a chance to figure out what they're going to put out. So then it's like, the next day it would be irrelevant because then something else is coming. And this is where I go and say, and I actually agree with Bad Bit, is that, you get towards the console launch, people have already made up their minds. They're making up their minds right now. You know what I mean? And Microsoft is continuing to, try to change people's minds, and that's because they screwed up. Don Matrick, like I say, he was a dick. He was, and you look at Phil, and he's the exact opposite. You almost say this guy is going to give us good stuff, or if I'm invested in this ecosystem, he actually cares. You know what I mean? And that's something that you're not getting that same feeling from Sony's end. You're more or less getting okay, we're having this event, and then you're gonna give me this bore fest. Like, dude, you could have just did that in a tweet or something like that. You know what I mean? You could have broke it all down in an article or a blog post. You know what I mean?
The same way that Xbox Wire did, right? They could have done it like that. Yeah, I agree.
Or they could have had Digital Foundry get in there, you know what I mean? Or at least have them speak about it. You know what I mean? Because at least I feel engaged with them. Like Cerny, I thought he was going to fall asleep at the podium. Like,
well, that is the thing too. And I'm sorry to cut you off, but like that was supposed to happen. Like, both
said that was supposedly that was supposed to happen.
Actually, you're right about that. Yeah. So so that and there you go. Like, they weren't really prepared. You know what I mean? Like, and obviously nobody's really prepared for what's happened, but clearly Microsoft at this point is more prepared, I think.
Yeah.
And like Bad Bit said, the problem is that really the majority of the revenue, and we could say this all day, you could say, that doesn't. Sony, most of the revenue comes from their PlayStation. Okay, between software sales and everything else. And if you've looked, they've realigned some. They've actually combined some of their subsidiaries into one unit now. So there's something going on there we don't know about. You could sit here and tell me, but when you have all these different changes of heads and everything else, you're eliminating separation, or you're combining all of them so they all work together, because they really weren't, apparently, which I was surprised about. And it's more or less what Microsoft did by taking Phil, put him in a seat at the table, and now it's almost like the entire company is aligning around Xbox, because you have to just look at the numbers. Gaming is just continuing on this trajectory to just, no end. And, this is helping at this point in time. I mean, like, I tried to go get an Xbox One X for my girl, and there was only one bundle left, like, out of 6, and I'm like, dude, where are they? So we literally, I wanted a different one. I was going to get her like the Gears 5 one or something. You know what I mean? Nothing, and I'm like, so I only have one to choose from. Nice. And then I go and try to get a controller, Then I go and try to get a controller from Microsoft, Amazon. Dude, like Amazon's got them on there for like $120. Like,
it's ridiculous
for everything right now.
So gaming is, I mean, this is just making it even more like, and this is where I go and say we're not going to see PlayStation, fall or anything, but I think we're going to see even more consoles in next gen between both of them. Yeah. And that's where I go and I kind of worry a little bit about Nintendo. Only because I don't know if they're even thinking of another generation. And eventually people are going to, be like, okay, when are you going to do something for us? You know what I mean?
That's one thing that I think like nobody's worried about it yet because like they're in such good shape. But that is always a thought that enters my brain when I'm about to go to sleep, as all things do, is like, what does Nintendo look like 5 years from now if and when streaming does kick off? Yeah. And you know what? Hopefully they're smart and they start – even if have a Three's Company and Nintendo invests in xCloud, you know what I mean? Because the thing is, they should be thinking of these things because if you're going to have an underpowered system, you could actually run some more games probably if you were able to do this. Yeah. So, it would make sense. So then you could have some more third party in there. Cause I think that's, if anything, there's a little complaint about, not having enough third party type games and more or less having reboots of your Marios and your Smash Brothers and everything else. It's a constant thing. And eventually it could get tiresome to somebody. And we almost thought Nintendo was going to go after the Wii U. Yeah. We thought they were done because they're literally, that's their company. That's the thing. If Nintendo can bounce back after only selling like 30 million Wii U's, everybody's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Like everybody's freaking out over nothing.
Yeah, and you know what? And the only thing I'm saying is that PlayStation is doing Microsoft a favor right now, and it's gonna make it more interesting because if we see a banger or two, which we're pretty darn sure we are, people are gonna be like, and this is gonna be on Game Pass day and date. Oh snap! What am I gonna do now? And that was a big indication of why my girlfriend wanted an Xbox. She's like, I got hundreds of games and I only pay, the $15 a month with the Game Pass Ultimate. She's like, no brainer. I got Netflix. I got all this other stuff. Why not? You know what I mean? And she's like, I never have to buy a game. And she has her son. He loves to play different, like he plays Ark all the time. He loves that game. I mean, I can't see it. I don't get it. But I mean, he loves that game. And it's like, there's so many different games on there that he's probably going to find another one that he really gets into. And that's the whole point of what Microsoft's trying to do. Trying to give you enough diversity to say, okay, little Timmy wants this and daddy wants that and mommy wants that. Well, guess what? We got something for everybody there. And you only pay $15 a month.
Yeah,
exactly. And I think Microsoft's power is in now those new 15 studios, Jesus. And they're not I think the one thing Matt Booty was misquoted on was, a lot of them are going to be smaller experiences, right? They're going to be, AA, what they want. And that's not a bad word. What they want is a game every quarter from what I'm reading here. And so, not every game's going to be as big as Halo, and it doesn't have to.
It doesn't have to. Yeah, they don't have to have a $50 million game every quarter. Mm-hmm. It does. Again, you got to remember the value of a game should not be a determining factor on if you like it or not. Yeah. There are a lot of games. Perfect example. Let's just take a quick look back to what we opened the show with, right? What you're playing, right? Bring Us the Moon. It's $25, mm-hmm. right? Now, I don't have to buy it because I have Xbox Game Pass, which is fantastic. But it's a $25 game, and guess what? I don't know shit outside of a trailer and a few stills, but I have the same exact excitement as I did and I still do with Final Fantasy VII, which was a game 7 years in the making, right? Yep. So price should not, the price of a game, how much it cost, should not matter. As a matter of fact, it really shouldn't even matter what console it is. If you consider yourself a gamer, I'm not throwing anybody under the bus here, just play the game that you like. You say that. If you like it here, go there and play it.
Yep. And I think, too, one thing I do need to kind of, to jump on Crisp's point here is, a lot of people still assume that Sean Layden was the president of Sony and he has not been the president of Sony for over 2 years. When he left, he was president of first party, which means he controls what games are coming out on his platform, first party games coming out on the platform. That's what his role was. So his role was in the acquisition of studios like Insomniac. That's what his job was. I think John Codera was the president for a while, and John, who once handled the PSN division, left to reestablish their online presence on the PSN side because God knows they need it. And Jim Tap Dance and Ryan then became the president of Sony. So that's kind of been there's been a lot of shakeups within that company because they are restructuring themselves.
Yes.
To mirror Microsoft. Because before, if you were trying to get into contact with PR when it comes to PlayStation, there was Western, or not Western, sorry. There was 3 Sonys you were talking to: Sony Japan, Sony North America, Sony Europe, and all 3 of them would always butt heads with each other. There was
3 different opinions is never a good thing.
Now, what Sony did was they consolidated that into one entity for the most part, and it has its tendrils in all these other regions. So to me, this really goes to show they should have done that sooner rather than later, because they're still trying to grease the wheels to get things rolling, and they should have done that I think a year prior, because what we're seeing now is like Sony is it's a weird time. Like, I'm not here to comfort anybody who's a Sony fan. It's weird. It may get weirder.
Yeah, I mean, and I've never, I've never seen it, and to be doing all these things when you're going to launch another console, and clearly, like I said, everything going on has probably not helped the situation either, because now.
Yeah, they're not, again, like, they're not in trouble. They're like where they're going to, like, again, quote unquote, win. There's no winners or losers here.
No. We win when they fight each other. We win.
Oh yeah, it's always fun.
Their communication is odd right now, and I hope that we're not in a PS3 situation. But sometimes, like the companies that get humbled, they typically will turn around and produce something great. We saw that with the PS3, and they turned their whole first party division. We got bangers out of them.
Yep, sure did.
Saw that with Microsoft this generation, right? They got insanely humbled, and then they've created some amazing pieces of tech, some amazing consumer friendly moves that I never thought would happen.
Yeah, it's always good to have this type of competition, and and the thing is that, especially when you talked about AAA to AA, a lot of people, those AA games probably make you more money, to be honest with you, because a lot of these games that you didn't think were very popular actually are, and they continue to support them, and they almost become better. Like, even a lot of people tell me now, like, State of Decay is like almost a totally different game now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And people still play that game, and they're still supporting it for a reason. So, you have to realize that sometimes even these AA games can, because they, the games as a service model, releasing DLCs, can almost turn into a AAA and feel AAA. That's why I go and say, like, what is AAA to you? Is it budget? Is it, you know what I'm saying? Like, is it quality? Me, I think AAA, I think quality. You know what I mean? I don't necessarily think that they have to have $100 billion budget. You know what I'm saying?
So they don't. And like a game like Dead Cells is one of my favorite games this generation.
Oh yeah, and the DLC is ridiculous.
It's so good. And guess what? It's not like a AAA game. It's small.
No,
but it's freaking awesome. That's like, the conversations like this get me excited for the future of games. Not for a future of one company, just for the future of gaming.
Yeah, I mean, again, if you're a multi-tier supporter, you have a lot to look forward to, because we have the PlayStation 5, we have the Xbox Series X and S, which I know it's going to sound lunacy. I have come to the realization that I'm buying both. I'm going to buy both, yes, because I'm going to buy the X for my main gaming space, and I'm going to buy the S for the bedroom, because why not?
Yeah, I was actually thinking of doing that too, Boom, because
I like the black and white thing. I don't know if it's going to look like a GameCube. I hope that what we saw is what it looks like.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Every week, I get jealous that I'm not retired. Man, I wish.
Well, listen, I'm not loaded by any stretch of the truth, but I did something I was a little thought provoking in my finances. Who knew COVID was going to be a thing, right?
Yeah.
So I'm even more glad. But last September, I decided that because it's just one paycheck per month. When you're retired, that's it. I'm not working, right?
Yeah.
You have to be frugal. Sometimes there's games you can't get. You can't be as frugal. I mean, as loose with the spending, right? So I said, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask for nothing but gift cards, but GameStop gift cards. My favorite place to shop. I know people are going to boo me for it, but I love GameStop. That's just what it is. And I've been saving my gift cards since my birthday, which was last September, and all of this holidays. The Christmas holiday, I took all of the gift cards, about $650 worth, and they're sitting right now in my sock drawer in an envelope, separated and just waiting for me to be able to reserve these consoles. So when the time comes, I'll be able to reserve these consoles and just pay them off with the remainder cash I've been saving. And I think that's what you have to do. I mean, if you're gonna support multiple consoles, you got to be a little bit more sensible, especially nowadays with the way money is tight with a lot of folks. And I'm glad that I was forward thinking about saving for these consoles, because I'm gonna definitely want both. I haven't missed a console launch. I think just about my whole career of gaming, and I've been gaming since '78, folks. So I bought a lot of consoles. But I'm going to say this: we'll close out the show. We're closing in on 2 hours, and I got to say that we got the 3 topics. One was a made up one, which what you're playing, something new I'm going to add to the program, because I think that it's fun. It's something that's fun. No fanboy nonsense. It's just like, what are you playing? And of course, we did hit the major Xbox topic and a major PlayStation topic. So I think it's a win-win across the board. Got to thank Gaming Forte for taking an hour out of his day before he went into work to hang out with us. If you're not a fan and you don't know who I'm talking about, Gaming Forte, he's on Crossfire, he's on Primetime Gaming, he's on the Basement Radio Arcade podcast, he's on Scumcast with Luca over on the weekends, and he has an outstanding YouTube channel. So get over there and follow and sub to him. You can hit him up on Twitter at gaming_forte. Trust me, he is one of the community's finest, and I would definitely say you should be following him, especially if you want to keep in the know when it comes to everything GameStop. And of course, my remaining 2 panel members, love working with you guys, love what you brought to the show today. The energy was through the roof, even though poor Mr. Badbit had a migraine, which is terrible. So Mr. Badbit,
now it's done.
Oh, good. So the coffee did work. That's excellent.
Yeah, it always works.
So yeah, you know what? With me, I get chronic migraines, which is not good. So what I would do is take a nice dark coffee, and I like the Starbucks original blend. They're not a sponsor yet, Starbucks, if you're listening. And I will drink that with 3 Advils, and guess what? Within 15 minutes, I am back to normal. So that's good. A little medicine talk for a second, but Mr. Badbit, you, my friend, have an incredible presence within the community. I think that you are a rising star. I think that what you bring to the table is greatly impressive. And you have a PlayStation podcast called The Trophy Room, which is absolutely fantastic. Do me a favor, dude. Yeah. Telling me and tell everyone else where they can follow you on social media, potentially be talked to by a cowboy, and check out your YouTube channel.
Oh, listen, I'll do it in the voice since a lot of fellas want that. All right. You can find me over at Bad Big Games. We talk about all things video games, whether it's news, reviews, unboxings, the whole 9 yards, by God. Also on that said channel is a little podcast called The Trophy Room. It's a podcast made by the players for the players. Each and every Thursday, me and my best friend Kyle talk about the latest and the greatest, sometimes not the greatest, in all things PlayStation. You can also find that show on iTunes, on Spotify, wherever you get your RSS feed. It's all up to you, baby. Just do whatever you want.
I'm just curious to know where you park your horse.
Well, in the stable, but right now, because of the whole corona situation, he's in the garage. So he's just chilling out. We'll eat some oats.
Well, it's good to know. Make sure you feed him, because you don't want him to turn into a skeleton.
I like to feed him from the hand. I said, listen here, fella.
Not like a hand-fed horse.
Yeah,
thanks. Definitely appreciate you being here. Keep away from the branding iron, and of course, keep on gaming, my brother. And last but certainly not least, Crispy Bomb. It's been too long. We got to get you on here more often. Love the energy you bring. Love your sensibility about how being an Xbox gamer first, but at the same time can appreciate what PlayStation and Nintendo bring to the gaming community and the table. Tell everyone where they can follow you, but more importantly, check you out on shows like Retro Renegades.
Oh, thanks, Boom. It's been fun, and like I always say, when you've gamed as long as me, you've played it on all of them. I've almost played on every console ever made. So it's always fun to talk games with gamers and not talk about, which plastic box you're in love with. I hate that. Like, let's move on from it. So, you can find me at Crispy Bomb on Twitter, Xbox Live, Crispy Bomb 28. You can find me tomorrow night, next podcast, 7 p.m., Tuesday night, 7 p.m., Retro Renegades. This week, it's going to be on Graphic Gods channel.
Nice. Well, real quick, talking about retro, next week, if you did not know, and maybe you are an old school fan or not, Streets of Rage 4 is releasing and looks incredible. Also, if you are someone that subscribes to Xbox Game Pass, it is going in there day and date. A lot of people didn't know that. So yes, Streets of Rage 4, which looks like a modern day masterpiece with the hand-drawn art, will be day and date into Game Pass and wherever else you play your games, Nintendo Switch, PS4, or PC. So check that out. And I just want to wish everyone a fantastic weekend. The weekend is finally here. This week has dragged on. My God, I could not wait for this week to end, because next week is going to be another monster week for gaming. And I think that leading the charge is going to be Xbox. So listen, I'll close out the show with something that my dad taught me when I was a kid. Made me a much better police officer in my 21 plus years career as a New York City police officer. And he used to tell me, son, you treat people how you want to be treated. And the other thing that I thought was really great, and I talked to many, many kids as a youth officer in my career, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, and I can guarantee you are going to have an awesome day. Have a great weekend, everyone. Be safe, be smart, play games. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of Breakfast with Boom.